Okay, guys, I have the Better Press ready to go. I've already stamped out the Holding Your Heart sentiment in the Better Press plates and die set from the Collaged Birds collection by Dina Wakley. What I'm explaining here is that we're using Better Press paper, and you can notice that I have the sentiments matched up with, they're kind of lined up so they match with the die. So I have an A2 size piece of Better Press paper cut to 5.5 by 4.25. So they will cut, and I have them not perpendicular to the Better Press plate, but vertical so that there are no speed bumps. And there you can see they are cut out, and you can see how beautiful they are. And they have this really cool typeface font, and you can read them there. Thanks for always being there. Sparkle like you mean it. You have the power, my dear. I am so glad. I know you. You got this. Have an epic birthday. Thank you. Truly beautiful, wonderful, happy fonts. You matter more than you know. Hello, my friend. And they really feel like they are done with a typewriter. Things will work out. Don't be tamed. I am holding your heart. I carry your heart with me. And I can't read that last one, but you get it. So that is BP 271 over at Spellbinders. And I'm just using some stamp cleaner and cleaning up my Better Press plate here. This is my very first, maybe second voiceover, you guys. And you'll see why I had to do a voiceover. I cut out a big piece of background, which you'll see at the end here, that I didn't end up using. But this video is way too long. So we're speeding it up, doing a voiceover so you guys can see it. All right, moving on. We are going to do the background. Oh, I'm going to show you guys the Collaged Birds Feather Dream Better Press plate and die sets. And these are so beautiful. You're going to get this wonderful scripty background. You're going to get these 3 feathers and the dies. And then these are the Collaged Birds Better Press plates and die sets. And love Dina Wakley stuff. She does a lot of mixed media stuff. You might be familiar. She does a lot of stuff for Ranger. And these are BPR 024 for the birds and BPR 025 for the feathers. There is a layering acetate guide. You certainly don't have to use it. You can make it any way you want. And it's $29.99 for Feather Dreams in the US and $24.99 for the Collaged Birds. The sentiments are $24.99. There are also 2 embossing folders, which I will show you as well. The embossing folders, there is a regular embossing folder, which is the scribble letter embossing folder, which is a regular embossing folder. And then there is a typeface embossing folder, which is a 3D embossing folder, and that is called Soaring 3D embossing folder. So I'm also going to show those to you guys as well. And we're going to have 2 beautiful cards to show you guys. So there is the scribble letter embossing folder. That is SES 065, and that's just a regular embossing folder. And it's very, kind of classic looking. And then the 3D embossing folder is E3D123, and it's cool because it has this typeface, and then it has these 3D birds flying across it. And there you can see that one. So wait till you guys see these. And there you can see the E3D-123, and there it has those cool little soaring birds. But again, that typeface font is very, very cool and classic looking. I love that Spellbinders brings all of these different types of artists into their fold. We have Simon Hurley, Lisa Horton, Dina Wakley, so many different artists, as well as regular people. I mean, I did a design collection for them. My friend Justine, BB Cameron. I mean, so many wonderful people that they bring into the fold to do their collection. So yeah, love that Spellbinders does that for us. Okay, I'm just talking about how cool their paper is, because not only can you do Better Press on it. Oh, there's that last sentiment. It says, "You are simply wonderful," that I missed for you guys. But it's a really thick, soft paper, so very similar to watercolor paper, and it absorbs ink. So I'm going to show you some of the some of the backgrounds that I'm going to do here, you'll see that I'm going to do some ink blending, but I'm also going to do ink smushing. I also tried to do some watercoloring with some Tim Holtz watercolor pencils, which would have worked out fine, but my color choices did not work out very well. And it just came out really terrible looking, which you'll see at the end. But you'll see that the ink blending and the water smushing, or the watercolor smushing, came out really well. But this paper, I did it with the Better Press paper. It came out fabulously. And the Better Pressing really impressed into the paper, and you can feel that, and you're going to see that in just a moment here. So this is where I cut out what I was doing when I tried to do the watercolor pencils. It came out terribly, so we're going to cut all of that part out, and you're going to see me move on to the ink smushing. And the ink smushing, or sorry, this is the ink blending you guys are going to see. So the ink blending that I do, I'm going to bring in taffy, French blue, and the French blue ends up being a little light. I think I do end up changing the color here. And I think I didn't like any of my yellows, so I bring in archival, fossilized amber here. So this is going to be really simple. I just use and you can use any inks, by the way. I like using any inks for this, just using some blending brushes. But I just use basically a pink, a yellow, and a blue, and wait till you guys see how beautiful this comes out with the ink blending. But you can use any inks for this technique. So you can use your Better Press inks, you can use dye inks, you can use your Distress Oxide inks, you can use your Lisa Horton inks, Catherine Pooler inks, Gina K inks, Simon Hurley inks, any inks that you have in your stash to do this background technique. So using the Better Press paper, and I'm starting off with the fossilized amber and just laying down some color. And I like to do just, some splotches of color. And I think I do like 4 or 5 spots of color here. And I start with the lightest color and just ink blend. Then I'm going to go into the taffy. And I'll blend into the fossilized amber. So that taffy will have some oranges when it mixes in, almost a corally color. So I got to thank my 12-year-old who has kind of educated me to speeding up this video a little bit, and also voiceover. So you guys will have to let me know in the comments, because like I said, this video was originally 50 minutes. I probably could speed this up a little more and shorten it a little more. If you guys like this style of video. I don't normally like to edit my videos. 1, I don't have time, and 2, I think you guys like to see when I make mistakes and the real time of how long it takes and my thought process. And it was just really long with it being, it was 56 minutes, and I totally cut out the one section of the video, which was like 20 minutes of my mistake coloring and so on. Here's where I decide I'm going to change the color, because the French blue was really just too light, and I didn't like how light it was, and it wasn't blending into where I wanted it to be in terms of color saturation. So you'll see that I kind of get frustrated that it's not dark enough for me, and I grab another color blue in just a second here. But yeah, comment down below if you guys like. I probably will still continue to do my traditional videos, because I think you guys like my process. But if a video gets to be too long, I'm going to try this voiceover editing thing. You guys will have to let me know. All right, so here I go to Coastal, which is a little bit darker blue. And there you can see that's a little bit more in line with the saturation of color. So you can see it blends with the taffy, and it gets a little bit more purple. It blends with the fossilized amber, and you get a little bit of a green. I really like how this background came out. Wait till you guys see this all put together. And when you see what I originally did side by side, this was what I envisioned in my head for the original idea when I was using the watercolor pencils, and it didn't come out this way. So this one came out much better. Plus, you guys don't get the ASMR effect with the voiceover. Like, you can't hear the brushes, you can't hear the ink, you can't hear the paper getting trimmed. That's the other reason I don't think I like the voiceover. I think sometimes you guys like hearing, you know, some of those things and my thought process of why I'm doing what I'm doing. So, I don't know that this will be an everyday thing for me with the videos. I certainly won't be doing it on my hotel crafting videos. The hotel crafting videos will be what they will be. All right, so now I'm going back in and just resaturating and blending those colors that I think kind of got lost a little bit as I started adding. And there's some light spots, some dark spots, but I want my primary colors to just come back through. So just re-adding some of that taffy, some coastal, and just making sure that those primary colors come back through. And the secret to blending is having a paper that really absorbs the ink pretty well, which the Better Press paper is a nice soft paper, which does that very well, but also having dirty blending brushes or dirty blending tools. So if you have, you know, the sponges or brushes, it doesn't matter what you use. I never wash my brushes or sponges. I just try to keep them the same color family. So you always see my blues are with blues, yellows are with yellows, pinks and reds are, you know, so just keeping them together. You can wipe them down with, microfiber towels or whatever, but just keep your pigment inks separate from your dye inks if you're going to use different sets of brushes. All right, so I am pretty, there you can see the one that I tried to do with the watercolor pencils, and they did not blend very well. And that is the part I cut out. It was a hot mess, but you can see that the paper held up pretty well. All right, so now I'm gonna go in with some watercolor markers, and I spray with the Spellbinders Mister. This is still using Better Press paper, and this is just some watercolor markers I have, and I just do ink smushing. So I'm just saturating that paper with water, it's spritzing it with water, and then I'm just using the watercolor marker and getting that ink down, just some different colors of teals and blues, and it's going to come out to be this really cool bluish green background. You're going to see in a second. I'm going to put some more water down. It's a little dry at the bottom there. And I'm going to use my glass mat, and I'm going to do the ink smushing method. So I'm going to add some green to that blue. And this is, again, Better Press paper. If you have watercolor paper, you can do these same methods with a nice thick watercolor paper as well. So trust the process. I know this looks like a hot mess, but you want to use colors that are kind of complementary of each other. And you guys have seen me do this when I've done like ocean backgrounds. Also would look nice if you want to add any kind of shimmer to this. If you have any kind of shimmer sprays, you can do that. Okay, this is a nice part about doing a voiceover is you don't hear the heat gun. I know that's kind of annoying, but we're just drying this down. I probably could have sped this part up as well. So we're drying it back, and you want to apply the heat to the front and the back of your cardstock. And you'll see as I'm drying this, I'm going to add back to the glass mat, just do more ink smushing, and that's going to give us some really cool texture to this. And again, Dina Wakley, I think, is really known for being a mixed media artist. And so the ink smushing, to me, really spoke to her style with these Better Press plates. And doing the ink smushing just really, to me, was like, okay, this makes sense. And if you want to know, hey, how much water can this take? I'm drying the front, I'm drying the back, I'm going to go do ink smushing. They really do well with holding up. You can see the blues and the greens, and it mixes well and turns into a pretty teal. And as you do that ink smushing, see how that design gets added to the paper. It's really cool to be able to, you want to make sure you dry in between so that you get that kind of that splotchy design in your watercolor paper, your better press paper. Dry in between. If you don't want as much splotching, you want to leave your paper wet. You can do this technique with re-inkers. You can do this technique with, you could also do this with watercolor pencils. I would just do the watercolor pencils directly on, like color it on the glass mat. Make sure your watercolor pencil is very wet. Color it onto the glass mat, spray it down. You can use Korean markers, work really well. There's many different mixed medias, things you can use to do that. I'm just using my water to wipe the glass mat up. Very simple. So there is the one that I did not like, and I'm like, okay, we're tossing this. We're not going to use that one. All right, so while we're waiting for the ink smushing one to dry, we're going to get right into better pressing the one where we did the ink blended background. So the ink blended background one, we are going to use the feather. So we're going to use Feather Dream, and I do bring in the layering guide so you can see how that works. Again, you don't have to use the layering guide, but if you've never used the layering guide, there is a green border around the acetate, and you're just going to tape that down with some low tack tape. This is the Spellbinders yellow Spellbinders tape. And you're just going to tape that to the inside A2 size border on your Better Press system. And I'm just showing you that, how that lines up. And all this is showing is because the background goes down first, you're going to Better Press that first. And, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not doing that one first. I am doing the birds first. This is the Collaged Birds Better Press plates first. So this is that type-based background first. And I'm grabbing Cosmic Sky ink. And I have a piece of Sizzix sticky grid, which was on its very last leg. And because this paper was still, I think, just a little damp, I needed to tape it. Yeah. And actually that tape, because the paper was still a little damp, I think it ended up tearing a little bit of that at the top. And we do end up cutting the panel down, but that's okay. All right, and then we run that through the Better Press system. using my purple platinum. Okay. Next thing we do is there is a splatter background. So I just remove my plate off. And these mixed media is nice because think of that splatter background. You can use that anytime. Keep in mind too, the Better Press plates can also be foiled, hot foiled in the Glimmer system. So you don't have to just use these in the Better Press. They serve double duty. If you want to do the hot foiling system, that is mulberry or Better Press ink. So I think these birds would be really nice if you're going to be doing any kind of Easter cards or Mother's Day cards to use these birds. And the birds have a coordinating die if you want to cut the birds out with the die. We run the splatter through the Better Press system. And then we line up the 3 birds. And then the birds, I believe I think I do them in dark gray. I'm just showing you the dies if you wanted to cut those out. I don't think I do them in black. I think I do them in dark gray. Oh, I do them in black. And I'm just making sure they are all lined back up in their proper place. And running those all through. And there you can see what they look like. And we're not done yet. And here you can see that it slightly rips my paper at the top there. And I'm like, oh no. Yep. And then you can see it rips the paper there too. So I do end up cutting this panel down. I end up actually cutting both panels down. Still came out pretty cool. All right, so I put the other panel on and we remove the layering guide and the birds. And we're going to carry on with the Feather Dream Better Press plates. And they have that scribble background. So we're going to tape this layering guide down, and in the bottom right-hand corner, it says Better Press, and that's how you know you have it on the right way. So you want to be able to read that font that says Better Press and read it the correct way when you tape it down. I'm going to start with the background. which is a really cool scripty background. It doesn't say any real words. It's just this scribble background. And there you can see that my sticky grid has just about had it. It does not want to stick anymore. And here I am using Thunder, which is a dark gray ink. And I run that through the Better Press. And then this system has the background, the 3 feathers, and then the 3 dies to cut out the feathers. Now, normally on a layering plate, you would not lift that off of there. Luckily, it didn't matter on this because the layers don't have to line up. But when you are doing a layering system, don't take it off of your plate like I did there. Because when you have a layering system, it's designed to line up. Luckily, it wasn't crucial on this one. Then you're just going to follow the outlines on the layering guide. And I'm just going to re-stick that down. And then I decide on the feathers that I'm going to do them in a couple of different colors. So I bring in some archival inks. I don't really have a bright purple and Better Press ink. So I bring in some archival, I think that was Majestic Purple. Majestic Violet. And Lagoon. Majestic Violet and Mermaid Lagoon archival inks. And then just kind of layer them on top of each other. And come back in with the Majestic Violet and just tap and try to blend them. And wait till you guys see the outcome of this. It comes out really cool. Look at how pretty that came out. Okay, so there are our 2 panels Better Pressed out, but we are not done yet. We still have to add the sentiments that we already Better Pressed out, and I'm going to die cut those. And then we have the 2 embossing folders, and we're going to emboss those. All right, so here I went off camera. I did not cut this out. I actually had done this during the filming. I embossed them on the side. So here I'm showing you the 2 embossing folders. And again, one is a typeface one, which the typeface one is the 3D embossing folder. So it's E3D123. And then the scripty font one is SES065. And while I was doing that, I had also grabbed some Lisa Horton metallic inks. And I told you guys before, like the metallic inks do need to be set. But since this was going to be underneath the panels, I wasn't really worried about it. And all I did, you guys will see here, is I'm going to just rub that ink. So I have two top folding card fronts ready. You can see I cut the panels down where the tape had kind of messed up my card panels, but I'm going to take the Lisa Horton metallic ink. This is the silver, and I'm just going to run it across the top of the embossing folders. And I just use the new black cardstock, and just ever so slightly, just very lightly, very, very lightly touching the top, because again, I'm not really worried about the ink rubbing off, because just very slightly over the top of these cards. Just to highlight, again, the typeface and the birds on the 3D one. And that's called Soaring 3D Embossing Folder. And the other one is called Scribble Letter, which is the one I'm doing now. And I wanted the scribble letter to match the scribbles on the feathers. And I wanted the typeface to match the soaring birds. Now, I started off trying on this one using my tape runner, but I do think I went back and added some liquid adhesive on that one. Just because of how thick the cardstock is, the better press paper. Just on the dimensional part, it stuck to the card base fine, but the ink blended part, I think I did go back and add some liquid adhesive to that. And then I go through the sentiments, and I believe, yeah, on that one I added "Have an Epic Birthday." By the way, the actual die that cuts them out leaves almost a torn edge on the sides, so it's kind of hard to see. I don't think that I show that up to camera. The top and the bottom are straight, but on the very edges, it is a little bit of a torn edge on the edge on the sides. So on the short sides, if I hold it up to the camera, when I hold the camera up, you'll see on the short sides is just a little bit of a tiny torn edge on the short sides. The long edges on the top and the bottom are straight. All right, and then for the other one, I do end up bringing out some of the Spellbinders foam squares. And I talk about, if it bothers you that the paper is a little bit warped, you can run it through your die cutting machine to flatten it out a little bit more. Just under the regular plates. You don't have to die cut anything out of it, but you can just run it through the regular plates to kind of flatten it more if it bothers you. But the foam tapes hold it just fine. Now it is a shame to cover up some of those beautiful birds, but they do pop through the bottom and the top on the card. And same thing, just run tape runner and attach this one through the card to the card base. Oh, no, this one I do use the liquid glue. Plenty of liquid glue. And the sentiment I used on this was, "Hello, my friend." And that's it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and this release from Spellbinders. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Again, this is the brand new Collaged Birds collection by Dina Wakley. Again, the birds are BPR 024. The feathers are BPR 025. The sentiments are called Holding Your Heart Sentiments. It is BP271. And then you have the two embossing folders. The one with the birds and the typeface print is E3D123. And the regular scripty one is SES065. Please consider subscribing to my channel. And I would love to have you as a subscriber. And click the thumbs up. And if you want to purchase anything, click the links down below. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.